What is a story? Really, when you get right down to it, what is a story? Is it just an account of events, a plot, a series of things happening? This can't be it, right? This can't be all that story is made up of. If it is, what separates the Iliad from the Daily News, Hemingway from slam poetry, Rick and Morty from your weird uncle ranting about the time cube? So, a while ago, my friend Mattias and I were talking about this. We wanted to get right down to it, the heart of what story is. And let's just say that the journey involved milk. He made a video about it, and well, it got pretty popular. If you've clicked on this video, you've probably watched it at some point. Or you just really like milk. I don't know, I'm not judging. In any case, in the interest of storytelling, I thought I'd go through our journey in making a video. I even get Mattias in to talk about it too. I've got a bonus video coming up with the whole half-hour conversation we had. But for now, I've cut it down to the most relevant sections. And somewhere along the line, we're going to answer that original question. Just, what is a story? So get comfortable, because we're going to analyze a 3-minute video to death and back. A good storyteller can take the mundane, can take any topic and transcend it.
Yeah.
Whereas a bad storyteller can trivialize anything, can take the most meaningful themes down into nothingness.
Yeah.
And so taking any topic or any premise and turning it into a good story should be possible. I don't know how much you agree with that.
No, I agree with all of it. I think a large portion of it is just the communication aspect of what you want to communicate, and how you get there is kind of a tricky question. You can essentially use anything. You can use milk to talk about, family relations and whatever you feel like. Yeah.
Before we started brainstorming, Mattias and I came to an agreement. We were going to make the best story we could from the worst possible premise. Why? Because what your story is about is less important than how you tell your story. This deserves repeating. What you write about is less important than how you write it. You could write a story about the grim reality of war, the duality of man, racial prejudice, and make it a banal, insipid mess. A meaningful premise can't save bad storytelling. Here's an example. It's Monday morning. We're all gathered around a water cooler at work. Karen's telling everybody about her trip to the dentist. She hates dentists, and she tells her story of woman versus dentist like it's Battle of Achilles and Hector, an epic tale of pain and suffering. She builds them up with the premise of wisdom teeth removal. No general anesthetic, just her and her dentist getting cozy. She eases tension with false reassurance that it might not actually hurt, holds them in suspense until the dynamite last scene, and the dentist holds my bloody tooth to the ceiling, freshly ripped from my face like a crown jewel. Her co-workers lean back, satisfied, muttering, "God, Karen, that's just how going to the dentist feels like." Then, the storytelling stick gets passed to the next guy, who begins the tale of how his father is terminally sick in hospital, and he bores everyone to death. His story is flatly told, jumping from one annoying, superficial detail to the next. "We got him a good room in the hospital. Really nice and big. Nice windows. Lovely view of Edward Street. You know Edward Street? It's got those beautiful oak trees planted along the roadside. His insurance premiums are still low, so we'll give him good treatment." His co-workers tolerate the story, but it doesn't move them. They force sympathy because it feels like the right thing to do. Yet every single one of them, without a doubt, emotionally connected more with Karen's trip to the dentist than a terminally sick man. How is it that the tale of a sick and dying father, rightfully awful and sad, does nothing for the audience, yet Karen's trip to the dentist compelled and moved her co-workers? It's because what your story is about is less important than how you tell it. A good storyteller can transform the mundane, the trivial, into something substantial. The poor storyteller can and will reduce what could be the most meaningful themes and premises into boring nothingness. So with this agreement in mind, we began. How do you go about describing what is the most fundamental aspect of a story?
I have not watched the video since I released it, so it's...
Okay. Let me run this by you. A man goes to the store to buy some milk.
Yeah.
The end. And I feel like when we actually were discussing this, we basically went like, a man goes to the store to buy some milk.
And something, if I remember correctly, something has to happen. Yeah, like, that's not a story.
So, challenge accepted. The worst premise. A man goes to the store to buy some milk. The first draft. Actually, it went a little something like this when we were brainstorming. A man goes to the store to buy some milk. He finds the milk in the cold goods section, takes it to the counter, pays in cash, leaves the store, goes home, drinks his milk. Is this a story? I mean, intuitively, it doesn't feel like a story. Nothing happens, even if technically several things happen, which brings us to the most fundamental facet of story, the thing that separates a report, an account of events, from story. The shakeup, the surprise, the gap between expectation and reality. This is the substance of story, the stuffing, the invisible inner workings that we intuitively understand as story. Let me break it down for you. We start with a hero. This hero can be anyone. For the purposes of this example, let's say it's a man in a car. This hero has a desire, something they want. Our hero is late for his daughter's Pokemon contest. He wants to get to Slateport City on time for it. Alright, from the desire comes action. He's late, so he decides to take a shortcut, cut through Rust Turf Tunnel. His expectation is for things to go smoothly. It'll be quicker to take the tunnel. And if this was reality, things probably would. You do this all the time. You cross the road with the expectation of getting to the other side. You catch the bus with the expectation that you'll get to where you're going. You open your laptop with the expectation that it will turn on. Life is filled with these little moments of expectation, but where life and story differ is the result. Your shoelace unties itself halfway across the road and you fall over. The bus has a bomb in it, and suddenly you're trapped in the bus that couldn't slow down. Your laptop fizzes out and dies, and you have lost the only copy of your magnum opus, Naruto's Inflation Adventure. So our hero, he's got a desire to get to Slateport on time. He pulls off the highway into Rust Turf Tunnel and a Snorlax has gotten itself stuck in a tunnel, blocking off traffic from his side. Surprise, a gap has formed between our hero's expectation and reality. His very attempt at saving time has caused him to get stuck in traffic. Moment to moment, beat to beat, chapter to chapter, arc to arc, story is made of these moments where the hero's expectation is challenged by reality. It doesn't end there. Now that our hero has been confronted by the forces of antagonism, he adapts. He finds himself in a new situation where he must make new choices, take new actions. He's stuck behind slow traffic, so all he has to do is overtake the traffic. There's no one in the oncoming lane. The tunnel is short. He could just slip in and pass everyone, right? Again, in the real world, he'd probably be alright. But in the world of the story, every beat is made up of the world challenging the hero's expectation. He goes for it, cuts out into the oncoming lane, and lights come on. Officer Jenny pulls out of the traffic. On and on, these moments compound, intensify. They hurdle the hero towards the climax, where their desire awaits. The moral of the story is that it's never as easy as a man going to the store to buy some milk. Without the gap between the hero's expectation and reality, there is no story. We've established the most bare details necessary for a story. A hero, a desire, an action, and a surprise. Our first iteration adds some elements. A man goes to the store to buy some milk, but there's a crazy lady in the aisle. A gap has formed between our hero's expectation that he'd get milk and reality. Reality has forced him into conflict. The most basic elements of story are beginning to form, but we're still missing a few pieces. We have a hero, that's self-evident. We have an action, he goes to the store to buy some milk. We have the surprise, a crazy lady stops him from buying milk. But what about the desire? At this point, the only thing moving the hero forward is that he really wants milk. That's a fairly weak desire. When your desire is weak, you run the risk of your story feeling artificial, contrived, as if things are only happening because the script says so, which leads us to the second iteration. His daughter wants milk. He wants to make his daughter happy. That's a stronger desire line than simply wanting milk. His desire to get milk for his daughter leads to action, going to the store. The world challenges his expectation, and he's forced into a second action, fighting the crazy lady. He buys the milk, gives it to his daughter, and the world's worst story about milk comes to an end. It's a bad story, but it's a story nonetheless. But we're still not done yet.
Yeah, and clearly being a good father is like important to him, and he's a flawed character from the start. He has been a bad father. There's like no argument about it.
Do you know what a Mary Sue is? In a word, they're perfect heroes. They are characters without flaw or weakness. loved by everyone, an idealized being without fault or blemish. Most writers understand that weaknesses and flaws are important to a hero, but it runs deeper than that. Flaws and weakness are the point of a hero. Heroes need to be designed around their flaws and weaknesses. Why? Because flaws and weakness give us the most important aspect of a character, their arc. Our hero, over the course of the story, must change, and by the end of the story, they overcome their most critical flaw, maturing and growing, becoming a better person. A Mary Sue has nowhere to go. They never get a chance to grow. Milkman doesn't have a weakness yet, thus, he's also incapable of growing as a person. In other words, he doesn't have an arc. So, we iterate. We give Milkman a place to better himself from. Instead of just being a dad wanting to get milk for his daughter, we make him an absentee father. Instead of just milk on the line, it's his daughter's milk competition. It's fine, don't think about it too much. He gets a chance to prove himself, to show he's not a bad father. He gets a chance to show his character. Character is revealed in the choices we make under pressure. The key words being choice and pressure. If there is no choice in the matter, or if it's a false choice, nothing can be learnt about the character. If there is no pressure in the choice making, then nothing is learnt about the character. Pressure can take many forms: a time constraint, resource constraint, moral dilemma, opportunity cost. Simply put, if a character doesn't stand to lose anything from making a choice, then nothing is learnt about the character. A man donating a few dollars to charity is not revealing his character. A man donating his last cent to Little Socks for Puppies is. An invincible superhero blasting minions to smithereens is not revealing her character. A soldier choosing duty over her family is. When the milkman goes to the store to buy milk for his daughter's milk competition, what happens? He is forced to make a choice under pressure. He has a time constraint. Make a scene, fight a crazy woman in the aisle, or go somewhere else and risk being late to the competition. Through fighting the crazy lady at the store, he reveals his character. He is a man who is willing to fight for his daughter's happiness. He makes it in time for the competition, hands over the milk, and his daughter is happy. End of story. But it still feels off somehow. It's not satisfying. So, what's missing? That kind of back and forth between success and failure is kind of at the heart of the middle section of a story, where they try, sometimes they succeed, fighting off the lady, sometimes they fail, getting the wrong milk. And this second last, penultimate version of the story is kind of, hey, he fails, you're better off not trying at all, game over, story over, you're a loser, go back home. Our hero starts as an absentee father and ends it as a supportive one. He overcomes his weakness, and he shows this by fighting the woman in the aisle. But that begs the question, why was he a bad father to begin with? Why now did he decide to be there for his daughter? People don't change that easily, so it can't be enough to just tell the audience the milkman has a weakness. We need to show it. So, it's the wrong milk. His daughter's competition is ruined. A good dad would have known what sort of milk his daughter needed for their competition. Through his choice, albeit unknowingly, he has shown himself to be a mediocre father, well-meaning, but ultimately a failure. Which brings us to the final part of a character's arc, their self-revelation. The milkman needs to realize that simply trying harder won't solve everything. He hasn't been there in the past, and the mistakes he makes make that painfully obvious. For a brief moment, he can see himself honestly. If I was going to make a change to Mattias' video, I would make it clearer that the milkman believes he's doing the right thing, that he thinks he's a better father than he is. This would give the self-revelation more impact. But as it stands, it works. The milkman learns what he truly is. He's a loser, a terrible father. He was better off not doing anything at all. It was stupid to think he could be a better person. End of story. As it is, we could end it here. The hero is brought low, exposed to their true, weak self. But the best stories will bring their heroes low before bringing them back up. For it is only through great hardship that the truth can be exposed. We can't learn anything without pain. The story goes on. One last dance. The only difference between this version and the last is the reaction of the daughter. The milkman still learns who he truly is. For all his good intentions, he's not going to be a good father straight away. His absenteeism is going to affect his parenting for a long time. But it's a start. And his daughter, putting aside her own feelings, her own hurt, her own competition, takes the milk, goes up on stage, and puts on her performance. Why? Because this isn't really about winning. It's not about competition. It's not even really about milk. It's about family. Her father is trying, maybe for the first time ever. She can tell he really did try. She has a choice to reject him for his failure or give him a chance to be better. And so they walk off together to a brighter future. It's uncertain whether he can be better, whether he will learn to do the right things by his family. But she'll always give him the chance for redemption. There's an old saying in script writing: if your script's about what it looks like it's about, you're in deep trouble. This story is about a man going to the store to buy some milk, but it's really a story about family. It's about whether we should give those we love second chances, even when they mess up. In order to get to this point, we needed to explore the counter-arguments, the opposite themes. There's a brief moment before his daughter speaks where she could have said all of those things in the penultimate version, about how her competition is ruined, how he failed her once again, how he was better off not trying at all. And until that very last moment, we don't know what the final message is. Is it one of nihilism, that we're doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over again? That the best thing we can do is just get the hell out of the lives of the loved ones we keep hurting? Or is it one of redemption, that we can be better? It might not happen overnight, but as long as we keep trying, we will be better. Without that counterplay between the differing sides and the theme, our story suffers. Nobody wants to sit through a story where they're being lectured to. Otherwise, you might as well read a chick tract or a filibuster. We set out to answer a question. What is a story? I suppose you deserve an answer. A story is a gap between a hero's expectation and reality. This compounds as the hero takes new actions, hurtling the hero towards their desire. But a story is also a message on how to live properly, whether it's a warning about the dangers of life or advice on how to be better. The hero's arc is the connection between the two. Their weakness is the catalyst for their action, and it is also the source of conflict. Through the hero completing their arc from weakness to self-revelation, they reveal the message of the story. The twin spines of text and subtext, married in union, is what makes story. As the story writer, you get to decide what the message of your story is. There are infinite truths about the world. In the case of a man goes to the store to buy some milk, it is a truth about family. It doesn't matter if you're writing a 10-book saga or a 3-minute YouTube video. The truth you instill into your story, the warning or advice you weave into the tapestry of your work, will resonate with people. For a brief moment, you will be a teacher to your audience. So teach them well. And that, I suppose, is what I talk about when I talk about milk.